you're kind of taken aback to be attacked, not for the substance of anything that you've argued or written or said. You're attacked for your reputation. You're attacked for your alleged bad faith. I was also a believer that we were engaged in a rational debate about the past, that's what historians do, and that one made one's case, presented the evidence, and then the other side did the same. And so in that curious debate that is central to the culture war, you never really are engaged with on the ideas or the evidence. It is always about whether you have bad faith or not, whether you are covertly a racist, an Islamophobe, a homophobe. There's a long list of things that you can be accused of, but those are the most popular ones. One's never really discussing the arguments of the books. One's always discussing the personality of the author. I've also lost sleep about the mere culture war at the prospect of the reputational attacks. It's never pleasant to be attacked, as I was recently, in effect for being a sexist racist or a racist sexist, because I'd organised a conference at which all the speakers were white men, because the women I invited couldn't come. And it was a private conference. It wasn't supposed to. It was a kind of informal discussion about how we could take the idea of applied history and make history more relevant to some of the debates that go on. I think a lot of what is done in academic history these days is not really relevant to anything terribly much. But this event was rather crudely exposed in the New York Times and the Washington Post. The pictures of the speakers were published as if the mugshots, as it were, appeared in the New York Times. And the implication was that I must be a terrible racist sexist or sexist racist for having organised such a conference. I did lose sleep about that. And I think that part of the culture war is really odious, because it is calculated to discredit the targeted individuals, and it's bad faith on the part of the people who launched those attacks, that we haven't recognized that in the culture war the only thing that works is reputational destruction. I think we are guaranteed sleepless nights. Remember, there's also the phenomenon of guilty until proved innocent, which is insidious and means that if the reputational hit is bad enough, there may be no recovery from it. I was very struck by the speed with which reputations were destroyed in the Me Too movement's most virulent phase. And a characteristic feature of the process seemed to be that men were essentially guilty until proved innocent, and crimes were conflated with quite clearly non-criminal behavior in ways that were deeply troubling to my eyes. The false accusation is, of course, the ultimate nightmare of anybody in this world at this time, because if you're falsely accused, well, your reputation can be gone in 24 hours. And that has introduced into our lives something that hasn't really existed since medieval times. The feeling that we are at the mercy of a wheel of fortune that can arbitrarily turn against us and dash us, overturn us. I think this makes the culture war a deeply troubling thing to be a part of. And most sensible, normal people say, God, I want a quiet life. Get me out of here. And never involve me in any of this. Get me off Twitter. Get me off Facebook. Never let my name appear in the New York Times. Never let me appear on a show like this, because it's just too dangerous. I only need to say one thing that can be taken out of context and represented as heresy, or hate speech, as heresy is now called, because that's what we now call heresy. And I will be subjected to potentially weeks of vilification, and maybe worse. Maybe the vilification will actually lead me to lose my job. People are right to be fearful of that.